guys, welcome back to the Bro and Bro podcast, where we hope to help you reach your full potential, whether that be inside or outside the gym. I'm your main host, Jeremy, self-proclaimed gym bro, and I'm joined today with our own S-Legion coach, Sarah.
What up, guys?
So this is your second time on the podcast. Last time we did a podcast was with your previous client.
Yeah, that's right, with Lizzie, who did really well in the last year's 12-week challenge. But
yes.
Yeah, it's nice to be back on.
And it looks like she's still smashing it.
She's just finished the second 12-week challenge, so can't wait to share the results.
I'm excited to see them. We're all a bit competitive, us coaches, especially with this 12-week challenge. But it's just super exciting because, I mean, it's fine to be competitive because we just want our clients to do the best they can be and
Absolutely.
be the best they can be. And so this is the first time that you're actually on this podcast I didn't introduce you last time properly. So, did you want to do a little introduction of yourself?
Sure.
What you did before, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been a coach with S-Legion for a bit over a year now and been PTing, and I love that. I love to work with all different types of people, especially women and especially mums. I seem to just really vibe and just help them. And before that I was so a bit of a career change. I was in human resources before then for quite a long time.
Yeah, and I think we did mention this, with human resources, there's a point that you have to be really good at communication and talking to a lot of different people and stuff like that, and be able to read the right characteristics of every individual. Would that be along the lines of what HR is, or? Yes,
most definitely. If you're good at it, yeah.
If you're good at it.
I certainly feel like I've definitely got that as a bit of a gift. So just being able to, I always just say over communication is better than under communication, and just, really being open in that way, and just kind of sometimes also on the opposite side, just being able to listen is really, really important. You pick up so much and can kind of read. Sometimes people will say certain things, but you can kind of read in between, I suppose, the lines, and sometimes it helps you to be able to ask the right questions for them to feel comfortable to open up to you, which is super important in what we do. Especially
in online coaching, because we emphasize communication is key. I'm sure when we talk to every new client, it's you have to talk to me, you have to communicate, you gotta be transparent in what you're doing so that way we can help you best. And honestly, if we don't, we can't help you, it's just pretty much a back and forth, hey, what have you done? And they just be like, oh, good week. And I'm like, well, how was it a good week? Let's dissect it a little bit more. Let's see how your week actually was, and instead of just great week, and you'd be like, okay, cool, someone can just follow the plan really well, that's all good, but you're not going to really learn and educate yourself if you don't ask the right questions.
Yeah, I think it really depends. Some people are just give me a plan, I'll just follow it, and that's where they are at in their journey. But at some stage you really want to understand the why behind you doing things, otherwise you're going to be a slave to just, a plan for the rest of your life. And I think it's just, really developing that kind of trust and openness, that kind of two-way communication, super important. And I think when people don't really want to elaborate or, ask questions, it really makes me sad, because I'm just I know you could get so much more out of this if you just asked more questions, and, but you've got to be open to wanting to learn as well. So.
And I think the biggest special problem when we are online coaches, we have a lot of information, we have a lot of education, we understand a lot of different things. But if we told them and bombarded them with a whole book full of it, they're not going to understand it. And so we have to educate people based on situation, on their current situation, whether it be they have a really stressful week, or they really have bad sleep, or they're starting to feel fatigued, or they're starting to feel tired. And then that's when we start to implement the strategies that we know to kind of be hey, now you need to consider doing a deload, or, these sort of strategies and techniques is what helps us take our clients to that next level. It also helps educate them, because they'll be next time this happens, I know that is not just me. Maybe I am actually fatigued and tired.
Yes, I love that about just the way that we do online coaching. It's so versatile. It's every single person. You'll never have one person you work with that is the same as someone else. And I just love that, we just meet you where you're at in your journey, and it's no matter how beginner or advanced, and it's different every time. And I think that's why this is such a great field to be in, because you can never buy that as a program. Like, you know, you've really, like, you know, you're getting that real customized week to week. Like, so we might be like, okay, this is going to be the plan for like the next 6 months. And then, you know, a big spanner in the works happens, you know, maybe their life situation, you know, someone ends up having like a separation or a breakup, and they're like, you know what, and then at that point you go, okay, this, you know, plan that we had, we're going to have to really change things up now, and we're going to just really focus on you getting your nutrition in, you're getting your sleep in, and we're just focusing on more health elements rather than, and it's so versatile. We always just want to make sure that you can get the best out of your week, basically.
Yeah. And then we discussed this in like the accumulation phase where you just stay static for a long period of time, and I think that's where people think that it always has to be some sort of movement or results or losing weight or gaining weight, whatever their goal is. They almost expect like these metrics to change all the time, and I'm like, well, sometimes it's just about staying the same, like just doing this consistently and solidifying those strong habits and behaviors, so then that way you can live this life forever. Because, you know, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make our clients become more self-aware so they understand how to think for themselves. Because, you know, the end product, as you said, like, it's just like you could buy a program online for like $7 a week or whatever it is. But what we provide is like that coaching beyond that. Like, you know, it's like, how do you understand this program? Why do we design it this way? Why are we programming it this way? Why are we doing reps? Why are we doing RPE? Why are we, you know, tracking your amount of workload? You know, like all these little nuances that people don't think about, that they think it's just, it's just a program. Like, why does it cost so much? I could just look up on Google and get a free program online. And I'm like, great, go do that. But then are you going to get the benefits of someone actually guiding you in doing it? You know, it's almost like buying a driving manual on how to drive a car, but then actually jumping in a car and getting experience is a completely different game.
So different. That's actually a really good analogy, to be honest. And like, I think as well, it's like, you know, a lot of people are just, you know, even highly advanced people are like, they know what they're doing, but sometimes you're too busy to optimize, and, you know, you have someone there to ask the questions that you ideally want to be asking yourself. But like, a lot of people don't have the time to go, how can I be making things better? Or how could I change things up to suit my lifestyle better, get better results? And yeah, that's what I love about it.
We have to be like a chameleon, almost adapt into every single client. Like, we understand the processes, and it's just elimination sometimes. It's like, all right, you're not losing weight. What can we look at? How's your sleep? How's your stress? What are you currently doing? Like, how's your digestion? You know, like, maybe you're not eating enough fiber. Maybe you need more fiber. You know, it could be so many things that we have to eliminate. We're just taking the best estimated guess from our experience and from our studies to kind of be like, an evidence-based research to be like, okay, this is what we kind of have to try and see if it works. You know, and then that way we can respond accordingly. And obviously we help make people make better educated guesses. Not only that, we also guide them in the right direction so they could understand their body a little bit better. And the end goal is people can leave us, and like, you know, at the end of the challenge, or like, you know, after 20 weeks or 50 weeks, they can leave knowing that they've learned a lot. And that's pretty much our end goal for every client. Yeah, if they can be more self-aware about themselves, then we've done a good job. Yes, that is a true ultimate goal. So we'll go through some questions today. So I got one question for you. So there is obviously, you do get a lot of females. So you do have females who can't train at the gym. So I want you to know, how does is home training better than gym training?
I think in most cases, I can almost always say that gym training, there are more benefits than home training. But I have, you know, started off with a lot of clients that can only get home workouts, and we make the most of that situation, and we can still get results. It may be slower. It's certainly less stimulating, because generally you have a lot more variety at a gym. So there's sometimes a bit more like higher rep range and higher set range at home. And I'm like, you're going to have to do a lot more just standard squats at home. But if you're going from not really doing much to going and starting a home-based workout with just, you know, a few dumbbells, a kettlebell, I mean, and if you have a barbell, that's like perfect. We can do a lot with that. And I think, so that will get you a good baseline. You can start building muscle, start, you know, understanding form and training and that sort of thing. And then I think eventually the ideal would be progressing to either more equipment or to a gym from there.
Yeah, great answer. I think, it's very important that, it's better than none, depending on what level you're at, right? If you're someone that's been home training for like 3 years and you have the same weights, the same dumbbells, the same setup, to some extent, you're going to be pretty much plateaued. Like, you're not going to really progress. But if you're someone that's like completely a beginner, startup, and you get into the first time ever training, or like, it's been a while, then you're going to get some sort of stimulus. Up to a certain point, we want to encourage them to go join a gym. It could be any gym, just with an extra range of different increases in weights and stuff like that. So we can do different exercises as well as progressive over the right way and all these stuff. But then that does bring me to the next question, which is being optimal more important than consistency?
I mean, both is the ideal, but I think it again really depends. So if you're, I suppose, that person that's been training in their home gym for years, like I've had a PT client that was like, I never miss a day of training, and they just were upset that they weren't getting much in the way of results. They're like, I'll go out to a family dinner and I'll get home and it's like 11 o'clock at night and I'll go and train because I can't miss a day training. And I think at that point, probably the consistency isn't the problem. Like, you can probably be looking more at how to optimize your training. So I think for like that sort of person, you don't want to be taking it the like wrong way and being like consistency is everything. But if you are a beginner, then consistency is very much the most important thing to set those habits. As we know, we need to really just almost get into the motions of making something routine, just going and creating a habit that you can have long term, basically. Once you've got that habit in place, then work on the optimization, I think. So it really depends on where you're at.
That's really, really good. So it's almost like I see it when you're talking about it, like consistency and optimal. I'm thinking of a seesaw.
Yeah.
It's almost like a seesaw. Obviously, if you're someone that's starting out, there's no point being optimal. Just get consistency in. Up to a certain point, you're going to have to balance that seesaw and get that optimal up to that same level, so you get the best of both worlds. If you have consistency and optimization, you're pretty much going to be the best you've ever been. But then, like, it's almost like season, and someone's like you said, like that, the client you had, that was literally just consistency, or it was just all consistency, but then there wasn't much optimization. And so then you have to be like, look, we might have to pull it back. And that's literally what we do as coaches. We kind of like, if someone goes to me, I train 7 days straight. I'm like, great, how long are you going to last doing that before you feel run down, before you're just not progressing in the gym and you're probably not getting stronger? Like, it's going to be virtually impossible unless obviously you are using PEDs to some extent. You're going to probably be able to keep growing. But even then, it's probably still not wise, because the growing happens outside the gym. As we always say, like, it's recovery, that's number one. You get the stimulus, then you've got like this fatigue, and then you've got recovery. And recovery is the 3-step process. You need to have recovery where you actually build muscle, but you need the stimulus where you actually go stimulate those muscle fibers. And then you've got to recover to build muscle. So people think building inside the gym, like going more, is going to help them build more muscle. And I'm like, well, no, because you just keep tearing down the muscle. You're not actually you might improve your endurance maybe if that's your goal. But if your goal is to like build aesthetic kind of like hypertrophy kind of muscle, then you need to recover.
Yeah, I have so many ladies that come to me and they're just those cardio bunnies that like do cardio 6 days a week, and they've been doing that for how many years, and it's like, no, I don't think that is maybe working like it may have worked for you at the beginning, or like, you get a lot of people that do, those like kind of F45 programs, and they're great until like your body adapts and you're like, okay, we need to change. And like, I can even apply this to my own like personal journey. Like, I used to train 5 to 6 times a week and it was great. My recovery, my health wasn't the best, and my recovery started to really suffer. And, there was so many weeks where I was only training 3 to 4 times a week, but I was optimizing how I could do my circumstances at the time. I was optimizing that so that I could recover the best and still get the best quality training in. There was no point in me training more because it was no longer optimum, because I was like, my recovery was poor, my sleep was poor, I was feeling sore. So yeah, it's a transient thing, I think.
Yeah, all these variables that you have to consider, as you said, your sleep, your stress, fatigue, everything starts to onset. And then that's when you're like, you know what, you only can do it for a very short amount of time. Like, if you're in your building phase, maybe it's a peak 4-week block where you just like hit heavies for 7 days straight, but then after that, you're going to have to deload a lot.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just don't see that. And if they, some of them do have like, some people do be like, oh, I have a badge of honor. Like I train 7 days straight. Like they're proud of it. And I'm like, it's probably not going to be ideal in the long run. Like, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that, oh yeah, you're training at optimal intent. Like, if you're training very hard with good intent and good quality of training, so quality being technique, good stimulus, mind-muscle connection, good load, if you're training good with all of that, you probably couldn't train 7 days straight. Like, it's almost virtually impossible, like, to be able to do that. And most of the best bodybuilders in the world probably only train 5 or 6 days max. Like, so 7 days isn't something generally to be fully proud of, but at the same time, if someone came to me and was like, I enjoy training 7 days because it's good for my mental health, then I'll be like, that's a whole different ballgame then.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, yeah, we're not saying don't train 7 days a week.
No, exactly.
If that's what you like, that's what gets you like feeling happy, go for it.
100%. Yeah. We never want to take that away from people.
No.
Like 100, like I'm all for like, if someone enjoys it that much, but if they came to me and be like, hey, I'm not building the muscle I want, then like, then I'll be like, look, we probably need to deload your training or do 1 day less or 2 days less, just to kind of get you in the right position so you can really optimize your training, and then when they realize that they go less, they're like, whoa, I'm actually training harder now. They're like, it's like, whoa, it's a whole shock to the system, and so that's what we do as coaches. We don't want to say completely no. We'll meet halfway with a lot of our clients, kind of like, okay, do you actually enjoy doing this? Maybe on the 7th day, we could just do like some steps on the treadmill. So you feel like you went in there. Maybe do a bit of abs, just to make you feel like you went in there. But at the same time, we don't want to overload too much, So coaching is very much like that. What did you say, like transient kind of? Yeah,
transient. So yeah, like it just depends on all the external factors and your internal factors, I think. Like,
yes, it's too much to consider. But that's the joys of what we do. So I want to talk about, so how do you deal with bumps in the road?
I think as personally or as a coach or
I guess as a coach yourself, like how did you deal with any bumps in the road and
I think bumps in the road, it's all about how you view the bumps in the road is the secret really. So one thing, you're never going to be fully in control. Like you've got to accept there are going to be setbacks in, and they, whether it's life, you get a healthy dose of life, or whether, it's just maybe a plateau in your progress and, for some reason everything was like you're getting linear progress and then you just kind of stop. You've got to accept that things are just not always going to, you're not always going to get the results. So first off, acceptance is important. Secondly, if there is a bump in the road, whether, you failed in something or whatever, you just need to view it as a learning experience. Always grow. So I can personally say that I have failed ridiculously, like in a ridiculous amount of times in my health and fitness journey. More, I would say, than most of my clients, which people probably don't believe, but I've really accelerated because I kind of accept failure and I always analyze it and sort of see, it's not fun at the time, but how can I learn from this? And the general vibe is I just go, you know what, it's only failure if I give up now and sort of count it as like, that beat me. Otherwise, like I feel I am so resilient because I've now like failed 10 billion different times in one way, and I know better now. So I can definitely share that knowledge as well to other people and kind of just, help them through failing or help them through a bump in the road. It's sometimes you just have to have that outer perspective and not be too hyper focused on that bump, if that makes sense. Because I could ramble on this for so long, but I always, whenever I do go through a real setback in my own journey for whatever reason, I try and look at it's like you are here in a map and it's like a big line and it's like a very insignificant little dot and you can barely even see the little bump or the dip or the trough. I think that
is a great way to put it. Honestly, we got all day to talk about it, so we need to keep going.
I'm just but I've failed in my life.
It's like what you're saying. If we could draw this, it's like you have this big line of your life, right? And like a straight line. And you get those bumps in the road, as you say. Like it might just be a little small bump and then you go. And you just have success, you know, like to some extent. Is that what you're pretty much kind of saying? Like,
yeah, it's like, I think we hyper focus on how big the bump is, and that we're just like, every day that we're not making progress is failure, and we're like getting more and more further away from our, whatever our goal is. But like, you know, life is a very long journey. So, you know, it's not a big, like, I think we get so rushed into trying to achieve. And sometimes we just have to kind of sit with that little bump. We'll get past that little bump. And from there, we've got more tools to go forward and maybe speed up our progress as well. Yeah.
No, that's a great answer. And I think it's important that the biggest thing is obviously if you can set a goal, like, you know, whether it's a long-term goal. Like, what do you hope to achieve? Okay, we're talking about the health and fitness because that's what we do. Then, like, do you want to live this health and fitness lifestyle forever? Like, you know, that's the question that I always ask my clients. I'm sure you do as well. It's like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Like, do you want to, like, do this 12-week challenge and then that's it? And, like, you revert back to your old ways. Obviously, we don't want clients to do that. They'll probably tell us, yeah, I'll just, you know, keep going the way I am. And I'm like, you can't always keep going that way. You must take a step backwards. You know, we've got to reverse that. We've got to do a whole bunch of different techniques and stuff that we have to, phases we have to add in. But then the bigger picture is like, do you want to be consistent in training 1 year from now? Do you want to be eating healthier 1 year from now? Do you want to be more educated 1 year from now? That you know what you're doing when you go on holiday, when you have weddings, when you have birthday parties, and you're not exactly perfect, but you have the ability to understand how to get back on track or create those habits and behaviors that you're able to jump back on track. You're going to live this lifestyle forever. No matter what you achieve in the first 10 weeks or 12 weeks or 15 weeks, if you keep going the way you are, you're going to get results at some point. And this idea that, you know, you have these bumps, and we're going to have them, right? So that brings me to our next question, that should you begin now, or is timing important to begin your journey?
I'm going to say that most of the time we are too scared and we should start in most cases. And I think, you know, we're again so afraid of failure and all of the things that could go wrong. So we often will procrastinate. And I think in a lot of cases, if you don't sort of just go with like that initial gut feel of like, I think it's time, then that you'll miss out on so much. Like I can personally say, like, you know, I've done 2 bodybuilding comps, and I've tried, well, the first time I would say the timing probably wasn't the best, but at the same time I was like, I'm going to go for it. And it was hard, and it probably could have been better like conditions for sure, but I don't regret it. There was so much that came out of that, that I'm so glad I did. The second time I had a lot more experience, and I was like, from what I can feel like, the everything is kind of lined up. Things are never going to be perfect. You're never going to have the perfect conditions, and for the most part, things feel right. So I'm going to go for it. And again, I don't regret it. So I think in most cases, like, be smart, but I think go with your gut rather than just always finding an excuse not. There's obviously going to be times though, like, you know, if you're going through a massive, like maybe, you know, financial, like if you can't do something, like if you're going for a bodybuilding comp and you're financially can't afford it, that's not the right time. But, you know, there's a lot of things that I think we just hold back on, and we're either, you know, a bit too much of a people pleaser, like, how is this going to affect everyone else? And it's like, you got one life. So make sure that you actually do what you want to do, and what, like, really listen or feel, feel that feeling that when you start thinking about, if I want to start this journey of like health and fitness, and like, does it light you up inside? Then it's a very good indication that you should go for it.
Just go for it. Go for gold. And I think, you know, I guess the best way I could answer that question as well, like my point of view would be like, if you look 1 year from now, would you regret it if you didn't start it? You know, that's probably the biggest thing. Like, waited for the next competition, waited for the next thing, then I'll be like, well, then if you're going to regret it, then you probably should do it. You should start, like, and accept that you're going to fail. No matter what you do in life, whatever goal you set for yourself, just accept failure. If you accept failure and you get good at failing, as you said, you just became better at failing, that it becomes so much more easier. Because you know failures are going to happen, and that means you're growing. And that means you're going to learn from it. Is it the same? It's only insanity if you do it twice. But, I mean, you're going to fail a lot, especially in this health and fitness industry. I think everyone thinks that they're going to have to do it perfectly or, like, have to be, like, to the T. And I'm like, just relax. Like, you know, for my clients who are very, like, pedantic, I'm like, relax. For my ones who aren't as pedantic, you need to try harder.
Yeah.
You know, literally, you're either side of the spectrum. Like, it's very rare that you have this sort of balance, you know? And then it's only when they go to me, I want results. I'm not seeing results. And I'm like, well, you're not really sticking to the plan, so obviously you need to try harder. And if someone goes, I'm not seeing the results I want, then I'm like, you got to kind of trust the process because it takes time. Like, this doesn't happen overnight. The two major things is accept failure and be patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Yes, enjoy you can't. Sometimes you enjoy it, sometimes you don't. If you see results, you love it, you know. But then you're not going to enjoy it all the time. Like, you might start seeing results in 4 weeks. So you see it one time out of the 4 weeks, you know? And so you're never going to see those little successes as often as you think you would. You know, like, today I feel great. Like, you know, okay, cool, but did you see any progress? You probably won't. From day 1 to day 2, you're going to see nothing, no change. Well, you might see some change, but then you might not necessarily, in most cases, you might see nothing. And it's like, you've just got to believe that whoever you visualize, as you said, like whoever you whatever your long-term goal is, and your identity changes to become that person, then I think that's the most important part. You know, then you're going to succeed. You're going to be fine. And it's like, it's a great way you put it. I know you felt like you went around on a tangent, but honestly, it answered kind of my own dilemma when I was like, okay, I didn't get results for 4 weeks. What do I do now? You know, like, I could have just been like, oh, you know what, I give up. Like, you know, I'll just try a different time. But I kept going because I realized that, you know, my identity of who I wanted to be was to be back into health and fitness, taking care of myself. And I wanted to show the world that I could do it for myself, you know? And, you know, through everything, I'll be able to find time for myself, fill my own cup, and do all of that, which is super important because, you know, I want to show to you guys as well that I can be fine and run a business because that's super important. And that's a high performing individual because you make better decisions. You become more, you just have less fatigue, less stress, and you just feel way more calm because you're filling your own cup again. Yeah. So don't wait to fill other people's cup. Just go and just gun for gold and just try your best, absolute best.
I love that one of your motivations is to be a good example to other people.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
Good example is a huge thing because, you know, wait till you guys see my before and after, then you're going to like, oh shit, you really let yourself go. I actually have one on my phone, but I haven't posted it. So hopefully you guys might see it soon. But it's just a mini one from 8 weeks of progress so far. So it's a pretty good 8 weeks, but in the last 8 weeks, I still have I'm pretty much at the halfway mark now. But I know that at the end of this wedding prayer, as I said, it's going to continue on, and this is going to be my life. And this is going to be the identity I want to live. I'm never going to go back to how I was before, eating 1 or 2 meals a day and just eating whatever I wanted and just, never again. Like, I'm never going to let that happen again. It's as simple as it gets.
It's on record now.
It's on record. I can't get away from it. Damn. But yeah, sweet. So once again, thank you, Sarah, for taking some time out today to jump on this podcast. Did you have any final quotes or anything you want to tell the listeners?
You know, I actually do, Jeremy.
Yes,
but thank you for having me. I will finish off with this because I feel like I've come across this with a lot of my female clients and me recently, and I think that I just want to share it. Body confidence and feeling good is just like, I know it's cliche, but it is so not a scale thing. Like, I have really come to realize that you're like, especially myself, I've gone through such weight fluctuations, and I never see the scale as something that has made me feel good about myself. It's always, can I see myself progressing? Do I feel healthy? And do I just like, do I feel really good? Like, can I see myself doing amazing things and continuing to just like continue to do more amazing things. I think that is the essence of true body confidence, and because it's just a constant journey. And I think if you're healthy and you're like progressing in some way and you're happy, that is, the secret. So hopefully that helps someone out there.
That's very, very good. Thank you for that, Sarah. And once again, guys, if you did like the podcast, make sure to subscribe as well as share the podcast to your friends and family, and make sure to tag us. And if you do have any other further questions, feel free to shoot Sarah or myself a message. We're always open to questions, and if you wanted us to answer new questions for a later podcast, make sure to send those through as well. But once again, thank you for tuning in, guys.
Thanks.